Attorney General Professor Githu Muigai has in the last 72 hours been in the eye of a storm for allegedly giving President Uhuru Kenyatta warped legal advice and prompting him to authorize the payment of 1.4 billion shillings to two companies in the controversial Anglo Leasing type contracts. But Muigai insists focus should be on the architects of the Anglo Leasing contracts and those who authorized the deals in July 2002. He named his predecessor at the State Law Office, Amos Wako, who is now the Busia Senator, former Transport and Communications Minister Musalia Mudavadi, his then finance colleague Chris Obure, and former Postmaster General Francis Gachuri as the persons who should carry the cross.
To this day, the people who signed the contract have never been prosecuted. How then were we to prove corruption? My predecessor, you will recall, Amos Wako, was taken to court by the Law Society on a criminal charge over the same issues, over the same contract. And you remember at the time that he himself had the power of nolle prosequi, and he withdrew the case against himself.
Tabling a series of documents, the Attorney General says the government had exhausted all the appellate mechanisms and that the $7 million that Kenya was to pay the two companies was as a result of a protracted legal contest and a mediation process. The two companies, First Mercantile Securities and Universal Satspace, had demanded $28 million or 2.4 billion shillings, but the figure was reduced to $7 million by the mediation panel led by William Wood. But Muigai and the Kenyan government have been accused of mounting a weak defense and treating the matter casually in what the Law Society of Kenya dubbed a conspiracy to defraud the state.
The man you see in front of you is the mortician. The patient died on the operating table a long time ago. If you think the patient should have lived, ask the surgeons.
The Attorney General is also accused of delegating such a high-profile matter to Solicitor General A.G Muigai, yet he did not hold a British legal practicing certificate, causing Kenya to lose the case. But in his defense, Muigai insists that the country's financial credibility was at stake, and an international sovereign bond that the government was issuing to raise 135 billion shillings would collapse if the 1.4 billion shillings offered to the two companies by the court was not paid.
Whether it was A.G Muigai, Githu Muigai, or some QC, the gun was on the head of the Republic of Kenya. Either we went one way or we went the other. Had we gone the other way, maybe the new media version would be, they were so reckless. They had an opportunity to concede to 7 million, but they are so incompetent, they allowed it to go to 28 million.
But the Law Society of Kenya LSK insists that Professor Muigai must be kicked out of Sharia House, accusing him of failing to give the president and the government sound legal advice to save the Kenyan taxpayers from the Anglo Leasing payments. LSK has now petitioned Parliament to institute the process of removing Muigai for alleged gross misconduct.
I think it is actuated by other considerations other than the facts that I have talked to you about.
If a majority of the lawmakers will find merit in the grounds raised for Muigai's removal, then President Uhuru Kenyatta will have no option but to send him packing. Francis Gachuri, Monday Special.